Memories in some online games are characterized by giant earth-shifting moments that involve careful coordination, a new piece of gear, or the toppling of a very difficult boss. But the moments you'll remember in Sky are profoundly simple. It could be something as straightforward as a player offering you an umbrella in the rain, or taking your hand in theirs as they whisk you across a star-stubbled desert. It feels dreamlike in how commonplace these experiences occur, like it shouldn't even be happening. This is, until you peel back what's actually going on. Because Sky, Children of the Light, is not a series of good coincidences that are happening in a row. It's a game engineered to bring out the best in humanity. Its systems push you to talk to others, to guide them and foster friendships. Linking arms with someone and soaring over its green-matted hills and creamy white clouds will make you feel like you're in a fleeting, vivid dream. When you see others online, you'll light up with joy, exchange a hug, and go frolicking for candlelight and increased flying power. The friendships you forge and the memories you develop won't just be aesthetic, they are things that you can use to gain more upgrades and items for when you brave Sky's surprisingly dark and terrifying final area. When I ultimately saw the game's ending and how it looped back in on itself, it genuinely caught me off guard, making me reconsider how games can instill narrative power even without any dialogue or exposition. Sky belongs to a category of indies that have unceremoniously been dubbed walking sims, and while that title is somewhat passive-aggressive, I can see why it's stuck. Most titles in this genre involve gameplay that is shallow to non-existent, consisting merely of moving your character so that you can see the atmospheric worlds the developers crafted around you. Sky avoids the mundanity and other pitfalls in this genre by giving the player just enough goals and gameplay elements to pique players' interest, while still leaving things light enough to have the beauty and social interactions remain the main focus. The game is divided into 7 different areas, most of which have spirits to interact with and candlefire to collect. Collecting candlefire gives you currency that can be spent on said spirits to unlock cosmetics, be it a hairstyle or an article of clothing. Once a day, all candlefire in the world will reset, allowing you to revisit areas and collect it all again. This might sound shallow for some, and I can understand. Visiting the same areas over and over to gain currency is hardly a recipe for dangerous adventure and excitement, but you must understand that that is not what Sky is about. If you go in with the expectation that you'll discover something new each time when it comes to this game, you will walk away sorely disappointed. Rather, Sky should be thought of as a hidden forest clearing from your youth no one else knows about that you can escape to whenever you'd like. It'll feel slightly different depending on the weather, but the main reason you'll go there is because it's cozy and beautiful. That's not to say it isn't consistently supported by updates, because it very much is. Seasons might last months, but within each multiple holiday-themed events can happen. These range from just changing the home area to entirely new quest lines with their own cosmetic trees, though there are several issues with those cosmetic trees that I'll be getting back to. To circle it back a bit, calling it a walking sim could be considered a little misleading, since you'll hardly be walking, especially later on when you've collected more flight power for your wings. Flying in Sky feels great, and even if the game never really pushes you to master it, it's the main reason many people log in on a daily basis. Using light energy you've collected, you can flap your wings to gain more altitude, and while in the air you can toggle between 2 different methods of flight, one that lets you steer smoothly, and another that limits your horizontal movement but lets you fly longer distances. It's through these methods of travel that you'll take in a majority of Sky's beauty, and it's good to know that the developers nailed it as well as they did. When your game isn't stuffed to the brim with interlocking mechanics and really video gamey stuff, it's important to nail the finer details, and I think the developers did just that here. Earlier I mentioned that Sky is engineered to bring out the best in humanity, and it achieves this through pushing players toward collaboration. For example, if a player in the area hasn't found all of the available spirits, they can open a request for any player walking by to take their hand and guide them towards whatever missing spirits there are. These missing spirits are only seen by the guiding player in question, meaning the player that still needs to collect stuff has to rely on them. Cute coordination like this does not end here, far from it. Besides NPCs having trees filled with things to unlock, each person you're friends with has one too. These unlocks range from being able to high-five to straight up offering a hug.
Okay, see ya. Bye.
Barring invites you generate and send to friends on social media, you do not unlock text chat immediately with players you meet in Sky, nor is there a giant general channel, so to speak, like in other MMOs. The ability to speak to others is unlocked, albeit early on, after exchanging some candles with friends and working your way up the tree, and these are done on a person-by-person basis. I can understand seeing this as an annoying barrier to communication with people you want to play with. I think not being able to speak immediately to new friends adds a lot of personality to the game, making you lean more on emotes and the like before getting to know them more deeply. If you must though, you are able to sit on any bench in the environment to immediately text whoever might sit by you. All this being said, Sky is not a perfect game, not by a long shot. It has a constant insistence on showing you cutscenes, even if you've seen its locales dozens of times over, and it's not helped by the fact that most of them are really slow animations of doors opening. As a door enthusiast myself, I can comfortably denounce this design choice. The jumping can be finicky, which usually isn't an issue since platforming isn't the main focus, but it can still lead to some frustrating moments where you're trying to find a hidden wing upgrade that's just out of reach, and there's no rhyme or reason to how your character gets off the ground. There's also a tendency for the levels to lag when interacting with them. It's usually not an issue when you're just flying around, but it is frustrating when you're trying to burn some darkness into candlelight and you're just stuck there looking at it until the game catches up. And there's the question of how the game handles player progression in relation to your wallet. There are multiple points we could tackle here regarding how that game company can improve its monetization here, but I'll just touch on the big one. Every now and again an out-of-season spirit will appear in the main area to offer rare gear, with the caveat being that it's more expensive than just getting said gear during that NPC's original season. They only appear for a handful of days before vanishing again for who knows how long, and it's really not feasible to think that most players will be able to accumulate even a reasonable amount of candles to get enough satisfactory items in that allotted time. On top of that, when there is an ongoing themed season, you're collecting seasonal candles instead of regular ones anyway from your daily quests, which makes it that much harder to spend the normal candles necessary to get these temporary out-of-season items. While Sky is far from the worst I've seen in this practice, it is a tad on the expensive side when you want to start reaching for real-world dough to get the cosmetics you want. Putting the somewhat ungenerous in-game market and the other quips I've mentioned aside, these issues ultimately do little to dampen the spell Sky so effortlessly puts its players under. Its gorgeous environments and amazing music are fantastic, tranquil walks through paradise, matched in beauty only by the human-driven memories you'll make yourself in-game. In an age where mental unrest is rampant from vicious social media, witch hunts, and potent online toxicity, Sky is a beautiful breath of fresh air that uses the mystique and anonymity of the internet not to reduce the human condition, but to enhance it with a mystical aesthetic and a fulfilling sense of discovery. To give yourself to Sky and its world is to allow yourself to heal from the burdens of everyday life, even if only for a moment. There are many video games that people wish they could experience for the first time again, and I gotta tell you, anytime I hear that, Sky is the first thing that pops into my head. If there is a hole where your heart used to be, please play this game.